Hi and welcome back. So in this video I'm gonna make a functional jogger for my son for winter time with a quite thick jersey. I will show you in a minute. And I made some adjustments to the pattern. As always, I put your link in the description where you can download this pattern. And I just newly printed it out, and to save paper I always don't construct all the parts needed for the pattern for printout, because you always have some left over if you cut these parts out, and therefore I always leave some easy parts to do afterwards by hand, and this we are gonna do now. Yeah, what is missing in the pattern are the side pockets, the inner parts of the side pockets. So we are gonna do them now. To do this, I only just take the I'll put that away so you can see it better. So I take some leftover paper here, put the side part on here and just draw around. See, it's very easy. I always do the pocket with a size to fit my cell phone, and for the modern cell phones you need quite a big pocket, you know that. And yeah, I always do 20 centimeters, so every phone has fit with that measure. And take the door line here. So this is the inner part, the short pocket. I call it the short pocket piece, because you need two, obviously. Here's the zipper. This is the short one that goes with this part, and then we have the other one that goes to the other side of the zipper, and it has to be longer, obviously, to reach the other side of the zipper. So we now will cut that out, and what I always do for an easier process, and you will see that later, I always cut the sidelines here a bit, put some 5 to 7 to 10 millimeters on top here, and it will easier then to fit all the things together later. So let's cut that out. You see, that was quite easy. Most time you need to take, so also have some little bit of seam allowance here. Maybe it would be better to have also a centimeter seam allowance here, so it doesn't get too tight, because now 20, if we have 2 centimeters seam allowance, we have 18 centimeters, and that's for now the big cell phones you have now, smartphones you have now, it's a bit tight, so could also make it longer. 20 centimeters inner part, so take 22 would be better. And I just label it. That takes the longest time. Then for the other part, we do the same more or less, but put some more allowance here. So draw around. And as before, cutting it out. Leaving some extra on the sides. And here also on the top. So you see you more or less need a rough shape. You don't have to be too precise because you cut it to measure afterwards. Then labeling again. This is the long version. What you also can do, you can also do one version and just make a mark here where you fold that over for the short version. So you again save paper, but now I had enough. So that's as you like it. Fine. What you also need, what is not in the pattern, is the waistband. So the waistband piece, but I don't do it in paper because it's 10 centimeters width, and then length is depending on if you do it in one piece. Most of the time I do it in two pieces because of the fabric. So you need the waist divided by 2 with a little bit of extra. So normally 10 centimeters width and 60 centimeters length for normal people should be enough. For tall ones a little bit less, for thicker ones a little bit more. So I always do it directly on the fabric and don't do a paper piece here. Okay, so as you can see, I puzzled the pieces together on the fabric, and I will now mark them and do that in fast forward so the video doesn't get too long. Mostly all parts marked. I now construct the waistband. For that I only take this geometric triangle here, put it to the 10 centimeter line and draw more or less roughly the side here. So let's see how long we will need it. So we have the point. I think 55 will be enough. Meter 10, so we have more than enough space. Okay, now we're going to cut all that out. Let's also we do that in fast forward. because the scissors are quite loud. So we have all parts cut out, and the next thing we are gonna do is to prepare the zippers. So we need 2 zippers for the side pockets and 1 zipper for the fly. And yeah, to make it easy, I would say we will do 14 centimeter zippers for all of the 3, because the side pockets 12 is also okay, but 14 is better, so you get your hand better in. And for the fly in the front, 14 is also fine for this pattern. Yeah. And before I continue, I wish you all a happy new year, because the time I'm recording this, see my watch, it's 2 hours to the new year. It's New Year's Eve today. And yeah, all of you that watch my videos, happy new year. I hope you did get well into the new year when you see this. So I start putting the zipper, what is that called? I don't know. Zipper slider, I will call it zipper slider now. In for the first one. Then we need 14 centimeters plus, seam allowance, so 16. So we cut at 16. Do it like that. Take some scissors. Chop. First one done. Next one. So I once bought a 100-meter roll of these, and yeah, it's not very complicated to put them in, and it's much cheaper than if you buy a zipper as a whole, and it's much more convenient because you can do any length you want. 16 centimeters. Next one, marked and cut. So next one, last one here. Maybe I try to do it a little bit nearer so you can see it better, but it's always the same. You try to get both sides as equal as possible in there. Yeah, so it's like that. And then zip it in. It's a little bit hard at the beginning sometimes, this time at least. But if you managed to get the first ones in, then you have one. And you see, if it looks like that, you have a sharp edge here, it's perfect. 16, cut. Okay, now we have prepared the 3 zippers we need for this pants. Shortly talking about threads. So yeah, as you can see, it's dark gray, and I will just take a more or less black thread here for the overlock and also for the lock stitch, and for the inner overlock parts I have a dark blue thread. It's in the machine, so I'm lazy and I don't change it. I only will change the 2 front parts here you see really at the seam, and yeah, that's it. So we start as always. If you know my former videos, I did 1 or 2 in this kind of pants. So I always start with the side pocket zippers. Prepare the side pocket zippers. So I now cut some pieces 3 centimeters wide, at no certain length, just long enough, some kind of leftover fabric you have. Then we cut it in half because we need 1 part at each end. Yeah, and then we start sewing. So as always, we need to cover the ends. That means putting the right side of the fabric to the front of the zipper. I always leave it a little bit longer, so this hard end of the zipper is a little bit covered here, and then sew over it. If you have a plastic zipper like this one, you just can sew, take your seam allowance 1 centimeter about, and just sew over like this. It looks like this, nicely covered. I have to cut off the thread, just put in the new thread, and a little bit long then. And then I always do some 2 seams on the very edge of the zipper here to just keep it in place more or less. Then it looks like this. You won't see that afterwards because the main seam will be more on the inner part of the zipper. And yeah, we do that for every end of every zipper. So we have 2 here because we will do normal pockets, normal main pockets for this, like in a normal jogger. So no zipper pockets, no real complete functional pants here. So we have 2 zippers, but that's enough in this. First one is ready. Next one. Next thing we are gonna do is to attach the zipper to the side piece here, the long one. Yeah. And afterwards, I always like to secure it with an overlock thread. But first, the normal one. So now that's the real thread, real seam, sorry. So we sew really in the middle of the zipper part. So next thing is that we put the short side pocket piece on the other side here of the zipper. So you can see why I made it a little bit wider, so you don't have to fiddle around here to fit it sneakily in here. You just put it on there and then sew over the whole thing to attach it. So I sew mostly in the original seam, a little bit outside so you won't see it from the outside, but as close as possible. And as always, if you're at the zipper pull here, you have to get it out of the way. Now it looks like this. Close it again. And afterwards you will have your outer piece here and then the inner pocket. Of course you can do the inner pocket with some different fabric if you want to. In the industry they use cheap white cotton, whatever fabric normally for those pockets. But for us at home, it's most of the times more convenient to use the same fabric, like the outer fabric, because it's not so expensive for you and it makes life much easier if you don't have to fiddle around with different fabrics and all that stuff. So now we're going to do the overlock. For jersey you don't really need it, but if you use normal fabric you need it, because if you're washing it, it will wear out here at the edge and just make it a tradition kind of to really secure the seams. Looks like that then. So fabric is secured. We have that zipper. So now we are able to put the front seam in here to give it that functional look. I have a ruler on my lock stitch machine for that. I don't know if you see it. If you don't have that ruler, you have to be quite precise to make it look really good. If you have an industrial machine, buy one of these rulers. They are not so expensive and they are really worth it. Always putting the fabric to the side so it really is a little bit under stretch. Looks like that. So now we are going to attach the other pocket part, the long one. That's because I made an L here. And now you see why it has to be longer, because we attach it here to the other side of the zipper, because you want to have a pocket afterwards. And yeah, that goes the same way as before, more or less. We will do a kind of a just fixing seam on the very edge of the zipper, just to secure it in place, the whole thing, because afterwards we will have the main seam also in the middle of this zipper part here. And also here you can see why we made the pocket pieces a little bit wider, so it's not so hard to attach them, because you don't have to fiddle around. They go over here, and after we have sewn everything together, we cut off the leftover, and that's it. And we are fine. Did not use much more fabric, and it's so much easier as if you cut it precisely to the same width. Yeah, next one is to close here the lower seam. I'll do that with the overlock first, and then do a second seam with the lock stitch to make it safer, because it's a pocket. You don't want to lose things. So make sure it sits flush here, and then just go over as it you may put it a little bit more in the middle if you have jersey. If you don't have jersey, you just should take it as it lies over one over the other, because then it's best. So first seam that you won't see afterwards, because it's on the inner side of the pants. Next seam with the lock stitch. If you have jersey like here, you know it's very elastic. Take care that your stitch length is not too long, too wide. Use a very small one. I use 2 millimeters per stitch. So the seam will be kind of elastic, although that lock stitch machine, that's stitch type 501, is not elastic at all normally. And then to finish it, what I always want to do is also just to secure it in place a little bit. Here you can use a very long stitch, because it's only to secure it, not to sew it together. Sew along the sides here, so the pocket will be fixed to the side part of the pants. Yeah. So now you will see why we made this pocket parts here wider, because you can see now it was very easy to attach them, to sew everything together, to put these side seams that kind of not attaching but securing, securing seams on there. You won't see them afterwards. It's just that everything is together. And now I just take this scissors, electric or non-electric ones, and we just cut off the leftover, and then everything is very clean, and it's much easier that way, believe me. Do you see it now? It looks very nice, just perfect. Here's the pocket seam, and you will have afterwards two very strong seams on the sides of that pocket, and it's very secure. As it is so much fun, we do it a second time for the second pocket. Yeah, so side parts with the pockets are finished now. You can see that you also have to take care that they open in different directions, because you want to have that symmetrical, of course. So you have to take care of that also before attaching the first zipper. Happy New Year! We have the first day of 2023 and going to continue this project. So we are now going to sew in the front fly and the main pockets. To do this, I will first put some elastic liner on here. So I just cut it roughly out. First part. Second part. So now we're going to clean it up. Next we're going to clean up this edge here. Next step is to attach the zipper to the right side zipper part of the front part, because we make a men's pants. I also do it on the very edge, because it's only to secure it in place here. You need to attach it to the very edge, because we want to have the seam afterwards here in the middle of the zipper. Now we are going to attach this whole part to the right front part, and here you can see, if I do it like usual, I will now sew in the middle of the zipper here. Next I'm going to attach the left parts here, this to that, then turn it round and sew it down, so it will have a nice look afterwards from the outside. So now we are going to put a seam on the very edge here. So if we turn that round now, we will have a nice look on the outside. Next thing is to put together both front parts here. Sometimes it's easier if I do it before, because I have to take care that I don't catch the zipper parts now. So it's better to put the seam not directly to the edge, but a little bit far away, because we want to have some space for the zipper to hide. So you see that we now have enough space here to hide the zipper. And next thing is to iron it down a little bit. Now we are going to catch the zipper in the right place. I always make some marks here so it's easier for sewing. And then sew the zipper to the left part. This is something that can happen if you don't take care. So we have to do it again. So we should now have a working front fly. Yeah, looks fine. What you also can do, if you want to, put also a seam here. I always do that. Looks a little bit better. Then we open it up, and the last thing is to secure the left part here. Put a seam there. I will iron it down once again before. So you have to do it from two sides because you don't want to take the other part here. Sew down to the end here and then put a second seam to close it completely. And yeah, this is done. I just secure the upper parts here so I won't lose my moving part of the zipper. So we are going to make the pockets now. For this, as the fabric is very elastic, we need to put in a ribbon here so it won't wear out. So I prepared 2 pieces of ribbon. So it looks like this now. No more elastic, so it won't wear out. And next I put on the lock stitch seam beneath that. Looks like that. Then I iron it down and we put on the cover seam. So you have to take care that the seam is a little bit on the inner side so it will look nice and clean from the outside. And now we sew from the outside. So it looks like that. And yeah, nice pocket edge. So we now attach the other part. We put them on one on each other to match the edges, both of them, and then close all the seams. So I start with the side seam and then the lower seam here. Then I always put a second seam with the lock stitch in here to make it safer. And then we secure everything. Also on the very edge because you don't want to see the seam. on the finished product. Be sure to sew only a little bit here, because we need to put another seam here and need to have access to the edge here. Pockets are finished, so we now want to attach the other part here. And here, to complete that piece, which we then can attach to the side pockets we did at the beginning. Looks like this and this. And as always, we put a second seam with the lock stitch machine beneath the overlock seam. And last, we put the cover seam on there. So I do the cover seams always with the ruler, so it always has the same distance from the edge, and it looks nice. So the side parts are finished now. As you can see, went out quite well. Looking nice from the inside as from the outside. We will now attach the completed main pocket parts to the completed side pocket parts. And then we'll clean up everything a bit with the overlock. And last but not least, do the top stitch, top seam. So side part is finished. Next, we are going to attach the big trouser parts to the side part. And as this is a very easy seam, I will not show the sewing process and only show you the result afterwards. So this was the first seam with the overlock, and now we're going to sew the second seam with the lock stitch, and then again the top stitch. Second seam, and now we're going to do the third seam here, the top stitch seam. Finished. So we are now going to do the same on the other side and attach the finished front part we did before to these two parts. So we will have then the first time nearly everything together except the waistband. So first seam here and here. You see we now have to carry always everything now. Then next is to do the second seam here and here. Second seam here and here. And next will be top seam here and here. And finally third seam. So we have everything together now. What we need to do is to secure the pockets here, and then we can start with the waistband. So I secured the pockets here and overlocked over the whole top edge, and yeah, now it looks like this from the inside, very clean. and like this from the outside. Also very nicely, I would say. Then we want to attach the waistband and prepare the waistband. Before that, therefore, as it is a jogger and elastic, I also want to cover it with an elastic liner. So I lined it, sewed it together, and we're going to put in 2 buttonholes here. So we now have the buttonholes in here, and we will next attach the waistband to the pants here as this. So I always want to sew from the middle, from the zipper here, because then it matches precisely. I think that's quite important. So we'll put it like that and then start sewing. So for these thick parts it's always good to do it by hand, because these machines are not made for such thick fabric layers, and if things get thinner again you can continue with the normal sewing process. So you see I made the waistbands a bit too short. They just fit. They're nearly too short, but it fully will work out. So now the other side. Again we start with hand sewing. Then again the second seam with the lock stitch. Yeah, now we are gonna do the top seam. For this I need to put it this way, otherwise the ruler won't work. If you have no ruler, you have an advantage here this time. You always need to look that we have the right width for folding all this together. Yeah, and then we just start. So we are done here. So last thing to nearly finish is to close the inner seam here. So it looks like that now. Inner seam closed, and next we will put in the elastic band, and therefore I open up the buttonholes. So putting in the needle, and you know that. Well, and then we will sew this together. So closing this one. Okay, so I ironed the lower edge here around. I have always 3 centimeters for the seams. Seam allowance for the ends of the fabric, and I will now try to sew it with the flat lock, as the fabric is very thick. We will see that works. Fine, worked quite well, at least for that thickness. So it looks like this now from the inside, and if I turn the whole thing around, like that from the outside. Worked out well. So after finishing the hem, the last thing left to do is to put in some cord to finish the jogger style pants here. Fine. So we have finished that project. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comment section. I will try to answer it. Then have a good time until the next video.